Okay. So you're just going to be right here, getting a good stretch and pulling back with just your back, no bicep. Like those are loose, okay? So focus on the bicep not firing. Scapular support is one of the most important things, so try to get a bigger stretch. How far down can you go? Yep, spread that apart and then pull back there first. Yep. Yeah, if we cheat that range of motion, that'll end up being the weakest link, right? So nice and smooth, full range of motion. Now, you don't want to stop at 90, let it go all the way, yep, get that stretch. There you go. All right, back to here. Now, last set, you pulled straight to the hip. This time I want it to be more of a fly, right? So you're actually, it's still lat focused, but you're going out more, okay? Again, just small, subtle changes makes it a different exercise. What you need?
My 20s disappeared.
That looks like him. That's okay. That's okay. With the band, you're just storing stretch reflex and you're using that instead of growing muscle. We're trying to create a neurological connection to the muscle directly, okay? So everything you should do is bodybuilder mentality. It's, I want bigger triceps. I'm not worried about how quickly I get it done. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sure. Is that a different hand position than you did the first set? It's not, so change it. Yep. That's, we all want to do what we're good at, what we're used to. Get out of that. You got to do something different every set. Well, just stand up and just lean against it. You know what I mean? Like get your chest up there, because the range of motion is more important. I want you to feel like you can really open all that up all the way down and then pull it back first. Yep, pull back there first. Further down, further down, further down. Yep, every rep, farther down. Yep. Most people that haven't done this style of training, your chest is stronger, unfortunately. We don't want it that way. We want your back stronger. So whatever you're pressing, you need to work up to being able to do that on your back as well, right? So your back should get more volume and should be stronger to avoid shoulder injuries. You want your back to fire and your triceps to fire in bench press. That's it. Like everything else should just be relaxed.
Yeah, actually one of the first things Matt told me when he started it's mostly triceps, but it's a back exercise. It's not a chest exercise. It's back and triceps.
The biggest problem is people's backs aren't strong enough, so their pec becomes a stabilizer and a mover. If your pec is pulled in and stabilizing and it has to move, it's going to come off. Like it's that simple. So if your back is strong and locked in, then the pec gets to just move, but the tricep does the majority of it.
So did you guys get a good idea and get to see what everybody else was doing? See, it's similar, but it's not. Same movement patterns in some ways, but different. So you guys could use all variations of this and anything in between. Okay? So any questions on Wenning Warmups?
You said there are times where you go pretty heavy on them. Is there
Yes.
certain reason or time period throughout the year?
Usually it's based off of the RPE, rate of perceived exertion, the auto-regulation scale. If I come in and feel like, man, I think I could run through that wall today, I push it a little bit harder. But as I said, we're talking 3-4% a year that I'll go above those ranges I showed you. And a lot of times it's in a hypertrophy phase where I do not give a shit that it bothers my max effort training. So sometimes you have to take your max effort training. Let's say I want to bench 600 again. Well, to start that process, I put my 600 at a disadvantage. I start training with 60, 80, 100 pound dumbbells, and when I get to the bench, I'm like, dude, 405 feels kind of hard because I'm tired. But then over a course of 5-6 weeks, and then I take that warm up and put it back into optimal range. Now I've super compensated, and now I have extra power. And then what I'll do is, what you guys just saw is a skeleton. And in that skeleton, obviously, now we're going to do a max effort exercise. You guys are getting a breakdown of what a normal workout will look like and why, which I think is insanely important. But what I'll do is, in the off season, I do not put emphasis on max effort work. I do it, but I'll do it tired, right? And then I'm like, why would you do that? Because I don't give a shit what I can bench 20 weeks out from when I want a PR. And if I start setting myself up to only care about that, I'll lose it anyway. I have to come in a deficit. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So at week 20, 15, when I'm still trying to build a little bit more muscle before I start to taper, I'll push those weights up a little bit higher because I don't care what that is. As I slowly get closer to caring about a new PR, which probably shouldn't be set more than every 20 to 30 weeks a year, right, to really build enough extra power to really test. How many of you guys have, well, I mean, my bench felt really good, 225 last week, I'm gonna try 250, and then you fail. How many times does that happen? About 100 for me, okay, especially before I knew how to train. If you would have waited for about 12 or 14 weeks and worked on other shit and then slowly tapered it in, you probably would have benched 265. But you tried it, you went linear periodization in your thought process and think that if you max week 1, then you come back and try it again with more weight, you're already too tired and beat up. So I find that if you really want to test your max or mess around with your warm-up weights, make sure they're far enough away from your PR testing and you don't care about max effort work. So what we do is, what I'm saying is we change the emphasis. Sometimes the emphasis is push the warm-up to hell. And sometimes it's make sure the main lift is the main importance. And rotate it. That's how you get better. Make sense? So your emphasis of what you put and where you put it is what you're working on. If you're trying to build muscle mass, 1 RMs are not good for you. It doesn't matter. So if you do 100-pound dumbbells for the warm-up, your 1 rep max is probably going to get suffered by 15%. But 10, 12 weeks later, if you just mess around with it and then back it off and put it back into prime range, your bench is going to go up another 3 or 4%, 1 RM. So my point is sometimes you got to train in a deficit to get better. Does that make sense? Okay.
And that's great information from a programming standpoint, but when I watched the warm-ups, the main thing I saw was people cheating range of motions. People not wanting to work where they're weak. If you stop your bench every time here, guess where you get a brick when you're over there? If you stop your tricep exercise every time right there and don't want to bend it back and actually use the full range of motion, you got to be a bodybuilder in the warm-up. You have to think about what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve.
Contraction quality.
Yeah, it's quality.
Contraction quality and excessive ranges of motion are going to be very, very important for you long-term in the warm-up. So with the dumbbells, it allows you to go a little deeper than a bar. But I noticed, and they noticed, walking around, you're stopping maybe this high. Where's your weak point now? Off your chest, because you don't have any volume there. Make sense? So you have to put your body, again, at a little bit of a disadvantage, whether it be range of motion or whatever, right? Does it make sense? Okay. Now, the next phase is we're gonna let you guys go balls to the wall, and we're gonna see where you fail, or close to fail, and then that's gonna tell us everything we need to know on where we select accessories. So really, what do we use max effort work for? We use it as an assessment tool, because it's gonna tell you everything you need to know if you know what to look for, right? But most of us think, well, what's your max? Well, my max is this weight. Your max is your assessment tool to make sure that your training is doing the right thing and your technique is getting better. You cannot get stronger at a point unless your technique is impeccable. You guys ever see me on Instagram do something look fucked up? No. Why? Because I'm 43 and I've lasted this long and my joints are still good. Because I always put technique and form before I put intensity. Okay? So what I want you guys to do is warm up to something that feels like about a 7 out of 10 and then yell at us. We should set up probably 3 benches. Set up 3 benches, hop in wherever you guys want, and work your way up until you feel like you're at about a 7 out of 10, and then we're going to do a 8, 9, and a 10 RPE. Make sense? All right.